3. 1 point to Lok Sabha expels MP in cash for query case. Context: a member of parliament, MP, was dismissed from the Lok Sabha after the House accepted the Ethics Committee's report, which found her guilty of engaging in unethical conduct. More on news. Z cash for query. Mahua Moitra, MP from West Bengal, was accused of taking bribes in exchange for asking questions critical of the government in parliament. Z contempt of House. She was also declared to be in contempt of the House for sharing the login information for her private and secret account on the legislative website. Vertical bar. Contempt of the House can be defined as any act that vertical bar causes an obstruction in the conduct of proceedings of the House. Vertical bar causes an obstruction in the performance of functions by any officer or member of the House. Vertical bar any other act that directly or indirectly has such an effect. Z legal inquiry. It also called for a legal institutional inquiry by the government in the case. What is cash for query case? Z an allegation that someone accepted payment in exchange for asking questions in parliament is known as a cash for query complaint. P.V. Narasimha Rao's case, 1998, said it granted MPs and MLAs immunity from prosecution for taking a bribe to make a speech or vote in parliament and state legislatures. Cash for query scandal. 2005 Raza Rampal case, said Raza Rampal was among the 12 MPs expelled for alleged involvement in the December 2005 cash for query scam. Z in January 2007, a constitution bench of the Supreme Court, by 4-1 majority, upheld the expulsion, terming it a self-protection exercise by Parliament. Z, for example, cash for query scam led to the conviction of 11 former members of Parliament in 2005 for taking cash to ask questions in Parliament. Challenges with Ethics Committee report. Z authority to inquire. The standard process for resolution of issues pertaining to privilege violations is taken by the Lok Sabha Committee on Privileges. The Ethics Committee can only investigate improper activity by MPs. Vertical bar. This case should have been inquired into by the Privileges Committee rather than the Ethics Committee. Z. No clear distinction between privileges and misconduct. Objections to committee selection are also due to the lack of clear distinction between what constitutes privileges and misconduct. Vertical bar. For example, bribery could trigger privilege proceedings, as per the Supreme Court's ruling in P.V. Narasimha Rao's case, 1998. Vertical bar. However, in the 2005 cash for query scandal, bribery was categorized as misconduct by the Inquiry Committee. 4. Z. Disclosure of e-portal login credentials. The practice of online submission of questions is recent, and there are no clear guidelines prohibiting MPs from exchanging login credentials since. Vertical bar. In the absence of a regulation, the scrutiny of a particular MP appears disproportionate and excessive. Z. Accepting large quantities of cash and gifts. The committee arrived at a conclusive decision based on an affidavit that failed to address the vital issues of financial transactions and detailed information about lavish gifts. Way forward. Z. Single Committee for Privileges and Ethics. As advised by the Committee of Privileges of the 11th Lok Sabha, privileges and ethics are interconnected and should be dealt with by a single committee, i.e. the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. Z. Amendment of Lok Sabha rules. The rule should have been amended when online submissions were allowed. Had there been a rule, some safeguards against violations would have been specified as well. Z. Making distinction between privilege and misconduct. There is a need for a well-defined framework regarding what constitutes privileges and misconduct, and what is the line of demarcation between them. Z. Code of Ethics for Ministers. Mahua Moitra has been found guilty of breaching a code of ethics that does not exist, and there was no evidence of cash or gift given to her. Vertical bar. Thus, it is necessary that in addition to the code of conduct, there should be a code of ethics so that MPs and ministers uphold the highest standards of constitutional and ethical conduct. 1.3 Supreme Court Word
Timeline of the Mahua Moitra case 2023. 15th October. BJP MP Nishant Dubey addressed a letter to the Lok Sabha Speaker accusing TMC MP Mahua Moitra of accepting bribes from businessman Hirandani in exchange of raising parliamentary questions. 31st October. Lok Sabha Ethics Committee summons Mahua Moitra. 10 November, the Ethics Committee submitted its report to the Speaker recommending Mahua Moitra's expulsion. 8 December, Ethics Committee report tabled in Parliament. Miss Moitra was expelled following the tabling of the report. Distinction between privilege and misconduct. Privileges. They are rights and immunities given to Parliament member under Article 105 of the Constitution for effective functioning. Their misuse is a breach of privilege. They are determined by the Parliament, and the Committee of Privileges handles breach cases. Privilege Committee mandate. Its function is to examine every question involving breach of privilege of the House. Composition: 15 members in Lok Sabha and 10 in Rajya Sabha. Misconduct: it describes a member acting in an inappropriate way or participating in activities unfit for a member of parliament. Misconduct allegations are handled by the Committee on Ethics. Ethics Committee mandate: it oversees the moral and ethical conduct of the members and examines the cases related to ethical and other misconduct of the members. The Ethics Committee has been dealing with issues of property, etc. Composition: 15 members in Lok Sabha and 10 in the Rajya Sabha.